Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmaswarupine Avatar Varisthaya Ramakrishnaya te Namaha. Last Sunday we have started our study of the Ishavasya Upanishad, and in the first session we discussed the Shanti mantra, which we just now chanted, Purnamada Purnamidam, and also first part of the first mantra. This Upanishad is called Ishavasya Upanishad because it begins with the word Isha. Ishavasya midam sarvam. That everything in this word is pervaded by, is covered up by a ruling force. The word Isha means a ruling force. Ruling force refers to the divine present everywhere. Ishavasya midam sarvam. Not only he just stops by saying sarvam, he explains what is sarvam by referring to different parts of the sarvam, we might say this. He says, Jaga, Jagat, Yat Kinchit. Meaning whatever is even stationary or moving, whatever exists, that is sarvam. This all-pervasive ruling force or this divinity is dwelling in all. This is not a statement made by an ignorant person. It is an enlightened person, an enlightened rishi who is sharing this with us. This sharing is done out of sheer compassion. A true teacher cannot have any other motive. He should be avrijana. Avrijana is sinless. If a person indulges in any selfish motive while he gives this precious knowledge, he is considered unfit to bring any transformation in the character of the hearer. So the rishi is an avrijana. He is giving this unselfishly, and he is full of compassion. As if looking at the common human mind, the rishi is thinking, look how our mind is so engrossed in this gross world. And often when we get too much engrossed, we get more and more confused. We think we should run away from this world. So the first thing which many people say when a little of spirituality sprouts or blossoms in their heart is, let us run away. Let us take sannyasa. Let us go away to Himalayas. While it looks very beautiful from a distance that we will run away. But after running away, where shall we go? And what shall we do? Having gone to Himalayas, what shall we do? For 10 days, you might enjoy the scenery and any novel thing looks very wonderful. Then you might say Himalayas are wonderful. But after 10 days, again there is a need for a cell phone. Again there is a way I should find out how things are moving. Because the mind is still outgoing. It's not that the going to places of pilgrimage or our dear great Himalayas is great, anything wrong. After all, Himalayas are part of our culture. And if you have to describe India, we always say from Himalaya to Kanyakumari. Or it is sometimes say, A Himalayat Setu Bandhanat. From the Himalaya to the Rameshwaram Setu Bandhan. That is how India is described, so it is part of a culture. To run away to Himalayas is not therefore something unethical. But we soon discover we are not prepared for that kind of inner seeking. When the people say that we want to give up everything and go away, they are trying to find out some solution. Often Sri Ramakrishna used to say that this is Markata Vairagya. Markata means monkey. So monkey Vairagya. A monkey would have tried to eat something and it injures itself or suffers. So for time being, it doesn't have any inclination for that. So Sri Ramakrishna gives an example of a person who gets this kind of Markata Vairagya, that he has picked up a quarrel with somebody in the family and he has become very unhappy. He goes away to Varanasi. I am going to take sannyas. I am going away. And after reaching there, after a few days, he sends a letter. I am quite all right there. I hope you are also doing well. I am searching for a job, don't worry. Sri Ramakrishna calls this as Markata Vairagya. There is no depth in dispassion there. It is not genuine dispassion. It is only a reaction to a momentary suffering. And it comes to almost everyone, this idea of running away from the world. The Ishavasya Upanishad begins with saying that this world is full of God. So where will you run away to? It is God who is present everywhere. But right now you are not seeing God, you are undergoing suffering. Instead of trying to change the external world, change yourself. Try to bring change in your thinking, in your attitude, in the way you look at the world, the way you perceive the whole world. How do we perceive the world? We perceive the world through our mind. And the verse says, try to perceive the world as God. This idea that God is present everywhere is not, as we said, is given by some ignorant person, but an enlightened human being. We find in the Gita also, Sri Krishna repeatedly telling this. In several places we find this idea that God exists everywhere. In the 11th chapter, of course, we know that Lord shows to Arjuna his cosmic form. He has told so much that the same Atman, same Brahman pervades the whole world. But if you're still not convinced, let me show you. So he says you cannot see it with this physical eyes. I'll give you the divine eyes, Divya Netra or Divya Chakshu. And with those divine eyes, Arjuna sees. And after seeing that, he gets frightened. Because there he sees the cosmic, a very sweeping view of life. He says, Aneka Bahu Udara Vaktra Netram Pashyami Tvam Sarvato Anantarupam. I am seeing so many stomachs, so many hands, so many eyes. You are the eternal one who has assumed so many forms. And I see death, birth, growth, all things are happening within this. So he was on one side he was in a way enlightened by looking at that form, but he was also frightened because he was not fully prepared. Again he requests and Sri Krishna withdraws that form and he comes as earlier Lord Krishna before him. And later in the 13th chapter, Sri Krishna tells him, look, God exists everywhere. Ishavasya midam sarvam. But he puts it this way, he says, Sarvatah panipadam. His hands and his feet are everywhere. Tat sarvato akshari shiro mukham. Sarvata shrutimaloke sarvam avritya tishtati. Sarvam avritya tishtati. He is sitting, tishtati or sitting or exists or is present. Sarvam avritya. He has covered up everything. Same idea as we find here. That God has covered up everything. Another place we find Sri Krishna saying, Avinashi tu tad vidhi. Yena sarvamidam tatam. Whatever you see, this whole world, it is filled with Avinashi, the undying, which does not have any vinasha. It does not get destroyed. Everything is filled with that. Or another place says, Maya tatamidam sarvam jagad avyakta murtina. I am that unrevealed or invisible being which is present everywhere. Or we find him telling that I am like the thread which is passing through various human beings. Like the thread which is there in a necklace which connects all the pearls. Likewise, I am that thread which goes through all human beings. Mai sutre manigana iva. Or we find again the Shvetashvatara Upanishad itself, this reference that God is all pervading. Sa ota prota vibha vibhu prajam. He is ota prota. He is as if submerged. He has submerged everything. He is present everywhere. The story is told of a little fish. One day, that fish asked a bigger fish, I have been hearing for many, many days that there is a thing called ocean. Where is ocean? The big fish said, ocean is everywhere. We are in the ocean. The little one could not understand. It thought it was water. It did not think it was ocean. It says, we live in ocean. One day ocean will become big, they say. Some storm will come. That ocean is what you are living in, the bigger fish said. Same way these great rishis tell us, you think that you are separate from God. You exist in God. But you have forgotten it. That state of forgetfulness is what we call as avidya. Avidya is not ignorance of some external subject. I may not know certain formulas in physics or certain latest things happening in stock market. That's not avidya in this context. That's an avidya in a relative world. But here avidya means being not aware of the real nature of the world. Being not aware of the real nature of God, who is ever present and is all pervasive. What the verse therefore is telling us is, instead of fleeing away, instead of summarily saying that this word is not to be lived in other words, there is a slow kind of dying. Instead of that, try to deify the word, make it divine. Deification of the word, deification of your life, the Ishwariya Buddhi, development of Ishwariya Buddhi. What Swami Vivekananda repeatedly said, in a very specific way, he said, Shivagyane Jiva Seva. So Jiva does not just mean a suffering being outside the house. There are people suffering inside the house, inside the office, inside the place where we live. Or anyone who with whom we work is all Shiva. That Jiva is to be seen as Shiva. And one has to approach him or her with that sense of deification. In other words, one has to develop a new outlook, a new attitude, a new mindset, where instead of seeing only something negative or focusing on others' faults or others' shortcomings, trying to see his other dimension. It's very difficult in the beginning to believe that there is another dimension, because we are so convinced of this dimension. We feel that this person is he has been so very wicked to me, he has been so unkind to me. How could I see God in him? But that is where the Upanishad reminds us that is only your experience, and that is what his present samskaras are. One day he will overcome his samskara and he will manifest more of his divinity. And you also will be able to handle or have a better interaction with him when you see divinity in him. So this development of a new mindset is what the Upanishad is trying to tell us. Again it says that God is everywhere in all events. It's not that God is only in birth, he is also there in death. God is not only in prosperity, he is present when things are not all right also. In the midst of all circumstances, all that happens around us or with us, feeling the presence of a divine being is the solution to solving life's problem. Just denying the word and saying that it is not going to fulfill me, it doesn't give me happiness, it may be a good beginning, but it cannot be the end. Maybe a person develops a genuine sense of dispassion, but that genuine sense of dispassion will not last long if he has not developed this lasting attitude. Again that Markata Vairagya, again that coming back. So the verse says, the first thing it says is Ishavasya midham sarvam. This refers to the moksha purushartha. There are 4 purusharthas we saw. So moksha purushartha. This is the one thing which the purusha will have. The purpose of a human being. Artyate iti purushartha. That which a human being should get is purushartha. So that is first. Then it says Tena tyaktena bunjita. It means, it's called a kama purushartha. The desire to enjoy is also one of the purusharthas. The verse says, try to do it by renunciation. How contradictory. That you have to enjoy by giving up. How can we give up and also enjoy? But if you go deeper, if you reflect over the meaning, if you go through the commentaries of the people who have thought over this, say Acharya Shankara's commentary, you will find he makes it very clear. It's only through renunciation that true sense of enjoyment comes. What is renunciation? Generally people think renunciation means something external. But is it that external renunciation all about renunciation? Without inner renunciation, external renunciation becomes only a show. The Gita calls people who have only external renunciation and no internal renunciation as hypocrite. People who are lacking something, they want to fill themselves or complete their lack by a show. A person who is a hypocrite is lacking something. He is putting it across to others in order to get rid of that lack. He is not given to complete practice of the ideal which he represents. So this renunciation which is being spoken of here is renunciation of the idea of possession. Actually stands to simple logic, a simple understanding. What do we own in this world? Did we bring anything with us when we were born? Or will we take anything with us when we shall take? So what is called as possession is actually a mental construct. This is mine. We have extended ourselves into that object so much that if somebody questions it, we feel as if we are being questioned, as if our existence is being questioned. It is said that in a very humorous way, that once a person got into a train. Another passenger entered, the train was still stationed. Another passenger came and said, is this train going to Bombay? He said, no, my train is going to Calcutta. Again, another person with a ticket came and said, this number is mine. He said, no, this is my seat. This is not your seat. And that my seat and the my train, he had to give up when the train journey was over. What was considered so very dear to him, when the time came, he had to alight. He cannot have continued his journey endlessly. He cannot be shuttling up and down all through. He has a particular purpose. For that he gets into a train. He goes to a particular destination, alights, and the journey ends. Likewise, the things come to us, we own it for time being. Time being, they are ours. The story is told of a monk who went to a king's place. When he went to the king's place, the king was very pleased and he honored him. And in the morning when he was taking leave, the monk told him, so your chol tree, as we call here, is a beautiful place. He said, which chol tree, sir? The chol tree in which you live. He said, it's not a chol tree, it is a palace. He said, before you became the king, who was living here? He said, my father was living here. And before your father, his grandfather, this is his father. And before that, earlier people. It has been existing for a long time. Then he said, is it not a chol tree? Where you have all come, stayed for some time and gone. Now you extend it beyond a house to the earth itself. We are all here like wayfarers, like travelers. We come here, we get into this world, we do our things in the world, and then one day we have to depart. Why therefore be so possessive about it? Rabindranath Tagore in one of his poems says, look at the life of a butterfly. I do not know scientifically how authentic it is, but he says, suppose it has got only 1 week of life. In that 1 week of life, it is born, it becomes a teenager, it grows, it gives rise to a fresh young one, and it dies. And it has got a whole life in that 1 week, which would have taken several years or decades for human beings. What he is referring to there is that scale is different, but things are same. In the case of a butterfly, the scale is only a week. For human beings, it is perhaps 100 years or 60 years or 70 years as per their prarabdha karma. But we have to all live and go forward. That is why he says, try to give up the world in terms of possession. Do not try to own. Do not try to say that this alone will give me happiness. This alone is going to give me a deep sense of meaning in life. Not just that, the verse says, Ma gridha kasya vid dhanam. Do not try to take away others or anyone's dhanam. This is the Artha Purushartha. Artha Purushartha is, as we said, there are 4 Purusharthas: Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. This is Artha Purushartha, says you have dhanam, you have money, but do not try to do it in a dishonest way. Do not try to acquire in a dishonest way, which means do not covet others' wealth. Others' wealth, if we try to covet, maybe you are very clever, very intelligent, so to say, and you have been able to get others' wealth. But wealth which is earned like that brings lot of unhappiness. It may not be the immediate unhappiness. Immediately a person will be happy only. He has won over others. But ultimately, in due course, in which way, in which form this will come, we do not know, but it comes. That a person has taken away others' wealth, or he has earned wealth in a dishonest way, it will come back to him in some way, and that will not be a very happy way. Tena tyaktena bhunjitha ma gridha kasudhanam. That is, try to enjoy this word. Suddhanam means, bhunjitha means that you enjoy, or it could also mean follow the higher life. By tyaktena, by giving up. And do not try to take others' wealth, or do not covet in a dishonest way. What it means is, first of all, that give up sense of possessiveness and have certain boundaries for even enjoyment. There should not be an unbridled enjoyment of things of the world. That will lead to only more and more bondages, more and more problems in due course. It's speaking of a kind of a enjoyment where dharma is playing a central role, where righteousness, where self-control, self-regulation is playing a very important role. Like Brahman, the ultimate reality, who is all-pervasive, it does not create any rift anywhere, nor does it have any division in itself. It is a single unit in itself. Same way, be like a Brahman. Do not create problem for others. Do not create rift in others. Do not sow seeds of squabble and misunderstanding in others. Rather, live an integrated life. Life in which a person can learn to be always in tune with the highest state of consciousness. When it says that you do not try to covet others' wealth, it uses the word gradaha. Gradaha could also refer to a vulture. Don't be a vulture-like person. A vulture, Sri Ramakrishna used to say, it soars very high into the sky. It has got that inbuilt mechanism that its wings can take it very high. A sparrow cannot go that high, but a vulture can. But having gone to that heights where the vulture is almost looking like a small dot from the earth, from there it is searching for something very rotten below. It wants flesh. It eats flesh. It lives on flesh. So rotten flesh, anywhere it is available, it has got such sharp eyes, much more sharper than human beings, that even from that height of several kilometers, it can spot out where a rotten piece of flesh is there. And it comes down swooping and tries to enjoy that. Don't be like that, Sri Ramakrishna says. People who talk or who give advice about many great things, but their heart is set on something very low. Let not we talk something else and do our mind or heart be set on something very low. Once a professor of one of the American universities came to meet one of our monks with regard to some discussion about whether there is a place for intellectual studies in spiritual life. In course of the discussion, the professor told that some people say there is no need for all these studies, they're all obstacles. To which our monk said, look, it is quite all right if you take up these studies as a means for self-improvement, as something which will help you become better. But if a person is talking only in terms of very refined intellectual presentation of something without actually wanting to practice it in life, then it is like the vulture in Sri Ramakrishna's analogy, that who talks very high but his heart is set on something very low. Listening to that, the American lady immediately replied to that Swami, you are as if talking about most of the professors in my university. Most of them are like that, Swamiji. They, of course, talk very well, but all of their mind is fixed only on money and enjoyments. This is what Sri Ramakrishna also referred to. That a person may talk, but what is his intention? Where is his mind set on? That setting up of the mind is very important. In a letter which Swamiji wrote in New York from New York to one of the American admirers of Swamiji, he says, many rich people have invited me to their houses, but I have declined. Why? Because I have seen through the whole business. He could see through, he had his own insights. He could see through the whole business. They were doing so not because they wanted to honor Swamiji, but many of them had desire that coming of Swamiji to their houses will only add to their prestige. So Swamiji was very clear about it. He says, I have seen through this game, this business. So he is as if, clear, his viveka, his power of discrimination is sharp and focused. He is not carried away by temptations. As it is funnily said, opportunity knocks at your door only once, but temptations keep knocking again and again. So people get carried away by that. They start responding to those repeated knocks at the door. Another important implication of tena tyaktena bhunjitha, that you enjoy by giving up, means that you develop a sense of being a kind of a trustee. We have the idea of trustee. Especially Mahatma Gandhi would very much emphasize on this, that we all have been entrusted with something, entrusted with this life. We should not therefore over-indulge in anything. As it is said humorously, you should eat to live, not live to eat. If you are living only to eat, then you become a slave to eating. So you are eating just because, as Shankaracharya says, hunger is a kind of a disease. You have to now and then fulfill your body. Take this, all right, put this, don't ask further. Which means eating is not become the goal of life. Expand it to other bodily needs or functions. He says, do not try to indulge in anything which will harm the body. Do not do anything which will harm yourself. Similarly, do not try to exploit the world which will harm the world. Have the larger vision of life. what kind of word you are going to leave behind when you pass away from this world. If you go on exploiting the nature, the nature which is left behind for the next generation is a depleted nature where resources have been taken away. That kind of thing will say that you have not enjoyed the world by giving up. You have, for the sake of your personal pleasure drive, you have destroyed the world. So, tena tyaktena bhunjita. If something has been entrusted to you, this word has been entrusted to you, this body is entrusted to you, the resources of the word are entrusted to you, try to make best use of it. That is the meaning of tena tyaktena bhunjita. We must know that we are all interdependent. We may be independent in certain things, but when it comes to living in this earth, it is all interdependent. Suppose somebody gives you a small needle and says, now you generate or produce, manufacture another needle without the help of anything in this world. You cannot do it. Even to make a small needle, we are dependent on others. There are so many factors involved in the making of a needle. What to speak of living in a house or having our food on time every day or getting all the civic amenities. There are so many people, invisible, unknown to us, who are playing their role. So the Upanishad says, Tena tyaktena bhunjita. Enjoy without becoming possessive, without becoming an exploitive person who will exploit everything for his personal things. This giving up and enjoying refers to that a person will develop a Ishwariya Drishti, that he will see divinity in others, divinity in nature, divinity everywhere. We have so many stories in our Puranas which speak of this. The well-known story of Prahalada, when Hiranyakashipu asked him, your God is everywhere, your Lord Vishnu is present everywhere. He said, yes. He said, in this pillar also? He said, yes. And then he broke the pillar and the Lord came out. This is an illustration of this very verse, that God is present everywhere. This is also the basis of universal brotherhood. When you speak of our relation with others as universal brotherhood, it is based on this fact that Ishavasya midam sarvam. It is same divinity which is present everywhere. This presence of an all-pervasive reality, however, has to be recognized. For this, one has to undergo spiritual practices on one side and develop right attitude along with it. By spiritual practices is meant essentially tapaha, austerity, which is concentrating and focusing all one's psychophysical energies. Tapaha does not mean that one should only go to a very distant place. Of course, there are so many forms of tapaha tapas in so many traditions. And they all have a role to play. Swami Abhedananda ji, one of the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, as we know, when he was passing away, there is one advice he gave. Follow tapas in your life. Tapas is the source of all energy. It is the source of all strength and power. This will reveal to you the truth, which is the transcendental truth. So tapa means focusing or training all our psychophysical energies in such a way that we are always as if master of ourselves. Tapas on one side and attitude, the right attitude. What do we expect as a result of tapa? Do we expect some miraculous power? Some power to become visible or invisible or develop some extraordinary such thing with us? Then that is not the real purpose. There's something gone wrong with the attitude. Our scriptures say that is an obstacle. That kind of thinking is an obstacle. Because there the result or the purpose of life again becomes only something worldly. Swami Vivekananda, when he was, let us put it this way, under the training of Sri Ramakrishna, one day Sri Ramakrishna asked him, I am having the Ashtasiddhis, the 8 miraculous powers. I want to, if you want, I will give it to you. Young Naren said immediately, will following or having these powers help me to realize God? He said, no. There it will not help you. But you can do a lot of work out of it with the help of these powers. Immediately Naren said, I don't want. That is a purified Vairagyavan Chitta. A mind which is so pure that you cannot tempt it away at all. Of course, it is said that later those powers Sri Ramakrishna gave it to him for carrying on the work in the West. And of course, he used it very judiciously in his own way. So, tapaha is the central thing of all sadhana. When a person sits and does japa, he is doing a kind of tapas. He is having only one something happening within him. Only one. It is just like you have a number of projectors. And at the same time, all these projectors are putting a film on a screen. So what do you see? There is only a confusion. So our mind is like that screen in which a number of projectors, number of thoughts are putting up their product on that. So we are in a state of confusion. In tapas, only one thought is put. Thought of God. So when a person keeps only one thought, that's like giving training to the mind. And that training is what in due course reveals this all-pervasive reality which the Ishavasya Upanishad is speaking of. He is the reality which is spoken of is the reality called, which is compared to a screen on which the whole of the world is projected. Suppose a person, he asks, where is the gold in a gold ornament? Or where is the mud in a mud pot? Same way, where is God in this world? God is present everywhere, but to him whose mind has been trained, whose mind has attained that state of calmness. Another one aspect of enjoyment through renunciation means that not only there should be renunciation, there should be enjoyment, there should be peace also. Ashantasya kutas sukham. Where is the joy or happiness for one who is ashanta, who is restless? He may be having all the objects of senses before him. He may have a lot of money, but yet he will not have happiness and peace. And this is very clear. We find people with a lot of wealth and amenities and whatever they can get, they still not being able to enjoy it. They have to go to various doctors or various people in order to get some peace of mind. They have all the things of the world, but they are full of worries and anxieties. So it is said that it is better to have less with peace than to have more without peace. Less with peace is all right, but more without peace is a big burden. So enjoying by giving up means not having any possessiveness, having a sense of being that things are entrusted to me, let me make good use of them. Let me not overindulge in them, let me not destroy them in any way, and also be detached like a witness. If you want to enjoy life, Swami Vivekananda asked this question, who enjoys life more? Suppose there is a painting before us. Who enjoys more? One who is into the painting or one who is enjoying as a witness? The person who is very much into, let's say, a boxing game, he is going up and down with whatever is happening in the boxing field. He has all the sukha and dukha of that. But there's another person who is not boxing, but is enjoying. He is only an onlooker. A detached person enjoys more because he stands apart like a spectator. He sees things happen. He is not affected by it. But that is possible only when a person is established in God consciousness. When he has developed a sense of he is deeply rooted in either love for God, or he has developed the idea that he is divine. Either of these two attitudes will make him ready for that kind of attitude. We shall continue discussion about the fourth Purushartha. We have discussed the first three Purusharthas, Artha, Kama, and also the Moksha. But Dharma Purushartha, which comes the next, or the second verse, we shall take up in the next class. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.